What is up, everybody? This is my second reaction of the day. Oh, yeah, I gotta tell you guys, I got a new hat from Agua Caliente Casinos. Yeah, I got this hat from a Clipper game I went to yesterday, where they basically look like the Agua Caliente Clippers. But anyway, let's move on to the topic about this video from Breadtuber Second Thought, who has 1 million subscribers, saying on his title, "It should be common knowledge that the troubled undercurrent of outright fascism has been becoming more and more mainstream over recent years. With new fascist neo-Nazi groups propping up all the time, with their rhetoric, they've always been around." You see, you can tell like this guy's second thought is probably like a millennial or a zoomer. Like this guy wasn't really used to like the Meskers, the Mesker, Tom Mesker. Yeah, he ain't used to guys like Tom Mesker, who was he was a politician. Yeah, like this guy was a former California Grand Dragon, a nice Ku Klux Klan in the mid '80s, and he used to go up against some trying to think. Damn, I'm trying to remember. But yeah, like he died in November 12th, 2020, and he was born in 1938 in Warsaw, Poland. So yeah, the guy was born during World War II, and the guy was basically a neo-Nazi. He was like one of the more popular, more infamous neo-Nazis in California. That also got the attention of Democratic House Representative. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, Maxine Waters. I'll show you Tom Massacre and Maxine Waters from back in the days. Yeah, this guy was well known. He was well known back in the 80s. And I mean, there's a video on YouTube between Maxine Waters and Tom Massacre, like a very younger Maxine Waters. Yes, Maxine Waters has been in Congress that long, and she was my congresswoman that I grew up with. So, yeah, I mean, what are they saying? Like, it's just beginning to come back. Like, it's always been around. It's always been around in the underground. But, yeah, ever since the MAGA movement, like, ever since the alt-right became a thing in 2016, it's become more mainstream. But let's see this video.
This episode and others like it are made possible.
And as you see, he got his Patreon out, Patreon Second Thought. So, yeah, he's doing, counterpoints and, like, Hasanabi and those other far left breadtubers are doing.
Second thought. Remember January 6th?
He's trying to get his own
Of course you do.
on.
Remember, it was the day Antifa did everything Trump supporters had said they would be doing for months. Did it exactly the way they'd been planning and telling all their friends they'd be doing it in online forums. Did the whole thing while wearing MAGA shirts, waving Confederate.
I mean, as you can tell, like, these guys, this ain't Antifa. How many Antifa guys do you see? I mean, let me show you what Antifa usually looks like. Oh, look at that. Gunfire happens. Oh, my goodness, yeah. Yeah, these folks are usually skinny. I mean, they usually wear masks, and they're usually skinny. They have a different diet from... the guys that attacked January 6th, who are mainly, like I say, cute, a mix of oath breakers, who are like a libertarian group. Then you got the Q-nuts, and then you got the Proud Boys, like Jason Biggs, Rufio Panman. And Alex Jones was there. Nick Fuentes was there. A lot of MAGA folks were downplaying like right-wing personalities were at January 6th, but yeah, they were playing right-wing personalities January 6th. Let's continue.
Confederate flags, and having the names and faces of long-standing Republican voters grafted onto their own, Mission Impossible style. And then Antifa chivalrously took none of the credit for it. Wow, what a memorable time in American history that was. It's been almost a...
He's trying to excuse Antifa. He's trying to excuse Antifa, but Antifa is still doing political violence to this day in Portland because folks like him, second thought, emboldens Antifa. The thing is, like, a lot of mainstream media, they call them, peaceful protest? I've seen this stuff in person. Like, it was not peaceful. Antifa was breaking a lot of crap. And let me show you their mugshots. I mean, the MAGA folks saying, like, this was Antifa during January 6th are just lying. They're full of crap. Okay, you see from most Antifa mugshots, they look pretty tore up. I mean, you can tell, like, there's something obviously mentally wrong with them. Like, there's a There's a mental imbalance in the fact that a lot of them are meth heads. A lot of them are meth heads. A lot of them are like openly degenerate and like all that weird stuff. Like they're onto like trans. I mean, yeah, they're basically a lot of them are trans. A lot. I mean, as you tell, like it's a very different look from the folks that invaded the MAGA folks that invaded.
Far right seems like it's continuing to grow in power and in influence under the Biden admin. And in this episode, we're going to be looking at
like folks like what Steve Turley, Salty Cracker, like Liberal Hive Mind. Let's add Brandon Tatum. Let's add like the BitChute crowd, like that whole little ecosystem. Yeah, there is a building of that
a little more closely, because it is a troubling omen for the future of politics in this country. Let's get started. The first thing I should address is the title of the video. The idea that fascism is on the rise in the US. That's a pretty obvious statement for most people, and likely even...
And it's been around. I mean, the thing is, like, this guy already made an ahistorical video because it's always been around in the underground ever since World War II, where it was more mainstream. The thing is, like, folks like the Ford family and the Bushes, they paid for the German National Socialist Party. So this guy is already ahistorical.
Even more so for the audience I have on this channel. Fascism has been on the rise for a while. So much so that it's made that very statement the topic of countless op-eds. And not too long ago.
Okay, let's get a clear understanding what fascism is. Let's go to fascism on Webster. Let's use a Webster dictionary of fascism. Okay. Often capitalized. A political philosophy, movement, or regime such as that as the fascista that exalts nation and often raised above the individual and that stands for a centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader, severe economic and social representation, and forcible suppressing opposition. A lot of these folks on January 6th carry libertarian don't tread on me fags, and they're more people that just want the government to leave them alone. So basically, Second Thought is making a video about a straw man. And the thing is, like, most of those folks there weren't fascists. They were like really like, I'd say populists, right-wing populists. I mean, it's a bad thing already, but it's not fascism. See, let me tell. I'm gonna give you Mussolini. I'm gonna give you the definition himself by Mussolini, who is an unambiguous fascist. He's an unapologetic fascist. Let's see, Mussolini. Let's see his definition of fascism. It's completely different than Second Thought's far-right definition. Because he's basically trying to normalize the far right and trying to like push the he's trying to push something like man, I forgot, I'm an idiot. But yeah, the Overton window. He's trying to move the Overton window more to the left. His whole like agenda right here, like his whole video agenda is basically to move the Overton window more left to normalize like a Bernie Sanders style like basically Bernie Sanders style Democrat. You know what I'm saying? Like Bernie Sanders, the Squad, AOC, like Ilhan Omar, like those type of like progressives. He's trying to like stigmatize the right, stigmatize the entire right, and basically make the left look more cool. That's his whole thing. I know how the far left operates too, but this is Benito Mussolini's own quote on fascism. Fascism should more appropriately be called corporatism because it's a merger of state and corporate power. What does that sound like? That sounds closer to something like CNN, don't it? Or does it sound like closer to something like MSNBC, don't it? It sounds something more like your typical MSNBC, CNN liberal that praises Dr. Fauci. Seriously, that state and corporate power. But if you were to be technically accurate, Trump in 2020 was a fascist. The Trump administration in 2020 was fascist because it's a corporation of state and corporate power. So basically, if you were to look into it, like the Benito Mussolini definition, That's basically what the Trump administration in 2020 was. It was a fascist. It was a fascist. It was fascism. I mean, because what happened in 2020 was a merger of state and corporate power, especially like with all those especially with the stimulus checks, and the fact that corporations made a grip load of money in 2020. Let's see, yeah. I'll show you who the biggest winners of 2020 is. I mean, could you look at folks like Jeff Bezos and I mean, yeah, you got your usual Bill Gates, but Jeff Bezos made a lot of money in 2020 and 2021, and Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk. But yeah, let's just go after Bill Gates all the time. Let's ignore Jeff Bezos' role. You know what I'm saying? Jeff Bezos pays very little in taxes. Is one of the biggest elites in the world, and basically runs. I mean, Amazon basically is like shipping now. I mean, it has its own entertainment industry. Yeah, like folks like this are ignored by the mainstream media. Yet most of the far right never tackles this guy. But most of them go after Bill Gates. But yeah, I mean, Jeff Bezos is way up there in the elite square. And also Mark Zuckerberg, as well as Facebook, which has a more right-leaning bias compared to Twitter. Yeah, I mean, I know this. The thing is, like, folks like Zuckerberg, Bezos, and Bill Gates are the problem. I mean, I like Elon Musk. I've tried to get a job with SpaceX many times, so yeah. But let's go. Let's continue.
The most powerful government seat in the world was filled by the unwitting culmination of that trend. For 4 years, the United States was ruled by a man who repeatedly parroted fascist narratives, cozied up to white supremacist organizations, and used armed forces and a militarized police to quash anti-fascist protest movements. And those are just some of the many.
As you see, he's using far left rhetoric.
Other telltale signs of fascism. There are just so many. I'm not going to spend more time on...
This is basically the Breadtuber definition of fascism. It doesn't match up with the Webster Dictionary or historical definitions of fascism.
This already tired argument of whether Trump is a fascist, a proto-fascist, a neo-fascist, or not a fascist at all, haha, don't worry about it, because you've had over
I say more like proto. If you look at 2020, it basically was a merge between state and corporate power.
4 years of that, and we're all sick of it. This video is about how the U.S. as a whole is getting fascister. Even more fascisty.
How's it going to more fascist?
How America is doing big fash. But just so it's out of the way, I'm going to be using the same definition of fascism I've used before. Palingenetic ultranationalism.
Palingenetic. See, this is a very clear sign. This guy only talks to people in his bubble and doesn't really talk to anybody outside of that bubble. Because if you tell anybody about this word palingenetic ultra, what? Like any normie will what? This is like faculty lounge language used by academics. It doesn't have any relevance outside of academia. He's just making academic arguments to please like a very highly college-educated fan base.
Palingenetic meaning a belief in and a desire for the violent rebirth of a nation to overcome a period of moral decay, and ultranationalism meaning an overwhelming loyalty to a perverted vision of one's country, often laced with bigotry and racism.
See, the thing is, he doesn't have any historical reference because there was I'm going to show you guys a nativism movement of the Knothing Party. And basically, that's what the current Trumpism GOP is. They're similar. Yeah, the Know Nothings were a Native Politicist Party movement in the mid-1850s. The party was officially known as the Native American Party prior to 1855, and simply as the American Party thereafter. The Know Nothings were a religious secret society of men who opposed Roman Catholicism, Irish, and other Roman Catholic immigration. That was their biggest bigotry. Now, I mean, as you think about it, the Trumpism movement is against immigration from Muslims and Mexicans who are Roman Catholics. It was mainly as populist and not simply a xenophobic movement. The party was progressive in its stances on issues of labor rights and the need for more government spending, and furnished support for expansion of the rights of women, regulation of industry, and support of measures designed to improve the status of working people. It was a forerunner to the temperance movement in the United States. The Know Nothing movement briefly emerged as a major political party in the form of the American Party. Adherents to the movement were replied simply, "I know nothing," when asked by specific by outsiders, providing the group its colloquial name. And as you see there, it's the merger of the American Republican Party and that's basically what the Republican Party were before Abraham Lincoln. And his headquarters was in New York City. Oh, that's Trump's hometown. Now, you see, his ideology was American nationalism, anti-capitalism. The thing is, like, the new MAGA movement is less anti-Catholic and more anti-Islam. But basically, that's the only difference between the Know Nothings and the MAGA movement. And as you see, the colors are basically like the Trump movement: red, white, and blue. So this guy is just making up a straw man of what the far right believes.
There is more to fascism than that, and it varies by the culture in which it...
In the same way, like, the far right Know Nothings will say the far left is being communist, but I don't think this guy is a communist. I think it's like just more of your LARPing social democrat type guy. The thing is, like, most Americans have no idea about, like, social democracy, which is like a center left ideology. Because let me show you, a social democrat would be something like that guy in Venezuela, Obama, Juan Guaido. I'm going to show you guys the wiki of Juan Guaido. This guy is pretty much your typical center-left Obama wannabe. The type of candidate the corporations usually love to have. Or I prefer calling him the corporate left. And then let me show you. Basically, he was an independent and was a member of a popular will. Let's take a look. Because I'm going to tell you, the center left doesn't really like the far left either. That the far left doesn't know. But as you see, they believe in social democracy, progressivism, and economic liberalism. And their international affiliation is socialist. So, yeah, basically, like, he's a center-left type of Maduro. Maduro is basically your far-left authoritarian leader, which will not be mentioned by folks like Second Thought because it goes against his whole agenda. He doesn't want to make the left look bad. He's trying to, like, normalize the Green New Deal type of left. But let's see his party, the Nine Aligned movement. And as you see, like, he was part of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, which are obviously quite Marxist, obviously has communism, themes of communism. And as you see, here's the ideology: socialism of the 21st century, anti-imperialism, anti-capitalism, Bolivarianism like Evo Morales, Chavismo, Christian socialism, liberation theology, Latin American integration, left-wing nationalism, left-wing populism, and Marxism. And the thing is, like, a lot of this woke left aren't really into the economic idea. They're just more into the social ideas, like the wokeness and all that crap. But, yeah.
Peers, but since we're talking about big trends in our common discourse, defining fascism by its core ideology like this is actually pretty useful. So, with all that in mind, let's go back to January 6th.
Oh, yeah, look at that. We gotta get some ads. So, supposedly, this breadtuber got some ads on this video, get some ad revenue.
There's a new way to vacation here.
And that goes against the socialist principles. So, yeah, this guy's
in a place like this. And bring her.
Well, let's keep going with this video. And you got to check out
a real turning point
videos too. Especially for Noam Chomsky.
For the American far right, particularly in the months that followed.
Oh, come on, I was slowing down.
On the one hand, it was the first time in several years that crackdowns had targeted white nationalists and their friends so aggressively. As I'm writing this, over 700 people have been arrested and charged for the acts committed on the day of the riots, and several trials are ongoing to identify central figures and prosecute them. Groups like the Proud Boys, who were involved in the event and reached superstar status in 2020 after this infamous clip.
Stand back and stand by, but I'll tell you what.
That was a very dumb slip of the tongue from Trump. Stand back and stand by, and the Proud Boys took that to heart.
I'll tell you what, somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right...
These groups started to lose members.
See, he basically downplayed the right's role in the violence and basically inflamed the left's role and less than the Antifa role that basically provided cover for the Proud Boys. I mean, the Proud Boys saw that like, yeah, Trump supports us. Yeah, Trump really supports what we believe in, da-da-da-da. And then during recess, they realized like Trump played them for fools. As they got arrested and Trump didn't give them a pardon.
Whether it was because of mass deplatforming from Parler and other online cesspools for the far right, or because the group splintered after leader Enrique Tarrio was outed as an FBI informant, the Proud Boys and groups like them could not and did not.
As you see, like Patriot Fronts, yeah, it looks like a lot of those cats are feds too.
Build the same sized audience on Telegram as they had achieved just a year earlier on other platforms. But that seemingly downward trend is a very small part of the story. Not only have public shows of force by the far right increased, not only do already white supremacist police forces get infiltrated by even more extremist group members, the overall trajectory of the far-right movement in the US in general has been growth. Massive growth. And the reason the far-right has grown so much is because it has successfully coalesced under a few key narratives that it has been able...
I love how he's like showing off the Confederate flag and everything. Like, yeah, look at that Confederate flag, man. Yeah, these are white supremacists right there, man. They don't want brown people in their movement, man. They hate brown people. But the thing is, like, a lot of Latinos... thing is, like, a lot of breadtubers don't get, like, a lot of Latinos are moving to the right because they're tired of folks like him. They're tired of folks like him saying, oh, Latinx and all that, and basically ignoring crime. The thing is, most Latinos are socially conservative, and they believe in law and order, and these guys, like, providing cover for breadtubers providing cover for Antifa, with a lot of Latinos, like, outside of the left coalition, like the Democrat coalition. A lot of them are moving to the right, the GOP coalition.
To mainstream in greater American political culture. The Proud Boys may not be what they used to, but it's because the American right as a whole has taken their place. Take a look at this clip, taken from a community meeting in Shasta County, California.
And you better be happy that we're good citizens, that we're peaceful citizens. But it's not going to be peaceful much longer. Okay? And this isn't a threat. I'm not a criminal. I've never been a criminal. But I'm telling you that good citizens are going to turn into real concerned and revolutionary citizens real soon. And nobody else is going to say that. I'm probably the only person that has the balls to say what I'm saying right now. That we're building, we're organizing, and we'll work with law enforcement or without law enforcement. But you won't stop us when time comes because our families are starving. And if you don't hear the seriousness of my voice, I hope you open your ears.
I like how Second Thought didn't provide any context of why this guy is angry. I got a feeling he gets a lot of his news from like a right-wing echo chamber or like a lot of talk radio. I bet you a lot of that guy on talk radio, I'm trying to remember that guy's name. Probably a lot of Fox News, probably a lot of far-right YouTube as well, like probably like Liberal High Mind. I don't know, who knows? But yeah.
You absolutely listen to what I'm saying. Because this is a warning for what's coming. It's not going to be peaceful much longer. It's not going to be rah-rah. It's not going to be speeches. It's not going to be gathered outside saying a Pledge of Allegiance. It's not going to be waving flags. It's going to be real. When you've seen the things that I've seen, I went to war for this country. I've seen the ugliest, dirtiest part of humanity.
I went to war too. Like, I'm actually an Iraqi veteran, but I want to bring that up.
I've been in combat, and I never want to go back again. But I'm telling you what, I will to save this country. If it has to be against our own citizens, it will happen. And there's a million people like me, and you won't stop us. Open the county. Let our citizens do what they need to do. Let owners of businesses do what they need to do to feed their families.
Basically, see, he's misrepresenting his whole argument. His whole argument is, this guy's argument is against the lockdowns. Basically, his problem mainly is the lockdowns coming from California Governor Gavin Newsom. And the thing is, like, Newsom was about to lose his recall until Oh my God! Until Larry Elder showed up. If it was for Larry Elder, we would have like a moderately centrist type of governor. But I mean, as soon as the far right, I mean, as soon as Larry Elder came in, if it's right wing, talking radio, talking points, basically that only appeals to like a section of California. Like, yeah, like Newsom was able to win again, and basically his anger is towards the California Democrat Party.
Families, take the masks off.
That's a pretty troubling discourse, and as tempting as it might be to see this...
I like how this guy basically ignored where his arguments come from to basically strawman that guy as like a far-right extremist, but he doesn't like really take in the research of why he thinks that way. It's a reaction to the California biomedical state. See? Really, I mean, the thing is, like, a lot of what happens in California basically is a form of fascism right now. It's a merger of state and corporate power. That's what he's going up against, but this guy is trying to frame this guy as a fascist, but I say he's more like a libertarian Berkshire type of guy. He's like a know-nothing. He's basically more of a know-nothing than like a fascist, but he's mislabeling him for a reason.
As a brief insight into a small movement.
And so as you see, this whole video is basically just twisting everything the right says. This is a dishonest video. So basically, I'm gonna like cut this video off and talk about polarization. America has never felt so divided. Bitter debates that were once confined to congressional hearings and cable TV have now found a way into every part of our lives. From our Facebook feeds to our family dinner table, most Americans are tired of this us versus them mindset and are eager to find common ground. This is a message we've heard from more than 8,000 Americans in one of our country's largest ever states of polarization. We hold similar views on many issues. However, more than 3 or 4 Americans also believe that our differences are so great that we can work together. And folks like Second Thought, folks like the right of YouTube, they're basically just a loud fringe minority saying these things to get themselves attention, clout, and money. And I'm part of the whole ecosystem myself. So as you see, like here are studies on immigration impacts. And as you see, half of Americans believe that immigration nowadays is bad for America, costing the welfare system and using resources that could spend in America. That's half of America. That's half of the U.S. that's not mentioned in the original video by Second Thought. But like Second Thought was framing them as fascists. Basically, yeah, like I was saying, like he's trying to normalize like the squad type of Democrats. Immigration, I mean, not the Joe Manchin size, more like the Joe Manchin symbol, more like the squad, something like the AOC, Ilhan Omar size. Immigration is good for America, helping the sectors of our economy be more successful and competitive. So basically, most of America believes in that view, but it's barely over 51%. It's not the vast majority like Second Thought trying to frame. And basically, this argument is really coming from a neoliberal, libertarian, neocon perspective. So a lot of this is coming from the right. Like, Bush Republicans were big into immigration. The thing is, like, a lot of the far right doesn't realize, like, a lot of Bush Republicans voted for Biden. That's the main reason. A lot of Bush, McCain, Romney-type Republicans voted for Biden in the suburbs. That was the group that swung the election to him, not that, like, the far right ignores. Let's see here. But as you see, like, this can change. The majority of Americans, who become the exhausted majority, are fed up by America's polarization. I'm a part of it. They know we have more in common than which divides us, our belief in freedom, equality, and the pursuit of the American dream. They share a deep sense of gratitude that they are citizens of the United States. This would make up, like, the majority of immigrants as well. Turn the tide as possible, but it won't be easy. Americans have real differences and real disagreements with each other. We must be able to listen to each other to understand those differences and find common ground. That's the focus of the Hidden Tribes Project, to understand better what is pulling us apart and find what could bring us back together. Now you see, 77% of Americans agree that the difference between Americans are not so big that we cannot come together. You can download this report here, and I have the link of the Hidden Tribes on this video, so you can take a poll and see where you fit. And as you see, like, unsettling changes in our economy and society have led many Americans feel like strangers in their own land. If you look at the Rust Belt, there's a lot of changes that made the Rust Belt a lot more I say third worlders, a lot more devastated than the urban coast. That's why Trump run the Rust Belt because of offshoring. By our coastal elites had this great idea to offshore our manufacturing to China in order to give us like cheaper products, and that basically screwed over a huge part of heartland America, but it made the coastal America very rich. That basically created a bigger inequality. Yeah, like the tech guy, you know what I'm saying? Like if you think about it, Bezos, Seattle, Amazon, basically Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook. I mean the whole Silicon Valley scene. And then basically our media like MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, all the like, they're mainly coming from the coast, and then basically ignore like the big part of America in between like both coasts. It's called flyover country. I mean, like most Americans never been to Wyoming, they never been to Kansas, they never been to Dakotas, they never been to Montana, they never been to places like Arkansas or Kentucky or Indiana. You know what I'm saying? Like this ignored by most of the U.S. I mean, for California, for Washington State, for New York, for D.C., and that's where like a lot of people move to, like the moving class. And let me tell you the truth about California politics. Like most of the liberals that be voting for like the Democrat Party, they come from other parts of the country. They're not born and raised in California. Like me, like like most born and raised Californians, I say, are socially liberal, economically conservative, fiscally conservative. But that's pretty much ignored in the mainstream discourse in the media. And here are the hidden tribes of America. We got the loud wings of progressive activists like Second Thought. And then we got the loud wings of traditional conservatives like the Ben Shapiro crowd. And then you got the devoted conservatives like the far right or like the MAGA crowd. And then basically you got the docile majority, which makes up the majority of Americans. And as you see, like there's more traditional conservatives, progressive activists. So basically the main reason why Second Thought created that video was to basically normalize the progressive activists more than traditional conservatives and moderates, and basically move the Overton window like a bit more to the left than the center-right tilt most of the mainstream America is. And if you saw Joe Biden's 2020 campaign, it was a very Reagan America type of campaign, and not the far left campaign, not the campaign fan like Fox News, like Joe Biden was a puppet of socialists. Nah, he was really more of a puppet of like neo-liberal, neo-conservative. I mean, basically like a consensus between like the center right and the center left. Like I mean, a lot of like McCain Bush Republicans and a lot of Clinton Democrats. That's Joe Biden's base. That's Joe Biden's real base, not progressive activists. No, it's more like moderates slash passive liberals or traditional liberals. These folks are really ignored by most of, and I say, yeah, like this is the Pelosi crowd, traditional liberals. They don't really like progressive activists. But the thing is, progressive activists trying to make themselves look more mainstream than they really are, which is really like mainstream in urban coastal cities. Now to see here, progressive activists are deeply concerned with issues concerning equity, fairness, and America's direction lately. They tend to be more secular, cosmopolitan, and how they engage with social media. So basically, these are the people on the Twitter activists, folks like Breadtubers, like Hassan Nabi, like these types. They only make up 8% of the U.S., but they're very loud and they have a lot of sway. They have traditional liberals, CNN, MSNBC types. They're very tolerant to compromise, or like, I call them Sorkinites. I call them Sorkin liberals. Then you got your passive liberals who tend to feel isolated from their communities. They're insecure in their beliefs and try to avoid political conversations. They have a fatalistic view of politics, feel the circumstances of their lives are beyond their control. It used to be Tim Pool, but he's more of a moderate now. The politically disengaged, that's the largest number of Americans, are untrusting and suspicious about external threats, conspiratorially minded, and pessimistic about progress. They tend to be patriotic yet detached from politics. That's a lot of the voters Trump picked up, like the politically disengaged, and like Andrew Yang made a reach out to these folks too. Then you got the moderates, which one I am. I'm engaged in my community, well informed and civic minded. My faith is often the important part of my life, and I shy away from extremism, which is why I'm going pretty hard after the Saudi, like after the far right now. Then you got your traditional conservatives. They tend to be religious, patriotic, and highly moralistic. I got a lot of friends like this on Facebook. They believe deeply in personal responsibility and self-reliance. And then you got your devoted conservatives, who are deeply engaged in politics and hold strident, uncompromising views. These are the Tucker Carlson types. They feel that America is in battle, and they perceive themselves as the last defender of traditional values under threat. Yeah, that's the Tucker Carlson types, or the far right. And as you see, let's see who approves Donald Trump the most. And as you see, it's the far right, the devoted conservatives. Who hates Donald Trump the most are progressive activists. There's like a polarized view. These two are very polarized how they feel about Donald Trump. Well, most Americans don't really like Trump, and like 43% of Americans support him. More like, I say the majority of Trump supporters is more like we, because like, yeah, this guy owns the libs. Like, Trump is funny. Like that type of support. Like that's a hardcore supporter from the devoted conservative, like the 6%. Like those guys that came to January 6th. And basically, the wings are the most modified internal, like the left wing. A main contention that the people need to try to express high levels of unanimity. And as you see, like it's just a bubble, like a self-inflicted bubble. And I mean, here's the question: why do the wings dominate the conversation? The key reason is that polarization has become a business model. As I said, as is the whole point of this video, media executives have realized that they can drive clicks, likes, and views, and make money for themselves and their shareholders by providing people with the most strident opinions. Like, that's how Candace Owens got famous, basically saying what her audience likes to hear. And as you saw her in the Trump interview, she basically pivoted and say like, "Oh, Trump gets the wrong sources of information. He's like really old. He came before time TV, came from the internet." Yeah, she basically says what her donors like to hear. That means that the most extreme voices, no matter how outlandish, often get the most airtime. Brandon Taylor is part of that as well. In addition, people with most extreme views are often most certain of their positions. They are willing to argue with anyone and avoid moderating their opinions or conceding points to the other side. All this can make entertaining television and viral social media content, but it is distorting how we see each other, fracturing our society, and adding to distortions in our political system that give undue weight to the most extreme views. So basically, my whole point of this video is it's time for moderate folks to speak up and let their voice be heard. I mean, because the far right and the far left basically dominate the conversation on the internet. And the moderates, the politically disengaged, and I say passive liberals. I say most liberals where I live are passive liberals. And then you got some very loud progressive activists that love AOC. They adore it. They adore everything AOC does. And I'm gonna show you guys. I'm gonna make a poll. I'm gonna make a poll about this on my YouTube community about where do you fit on the political tribes, because I'm curious. I'm curious where my audience fits, because it seems like I've pissed off a lot of the far right crowd. I pissed off a lot of the far right Saudi crowd. And they label me as a commie. They label me as a commie because I disagree with their far right BS. And I see, I'm just taking a look at my subscriptions. And I'm going to show you a lot of the comments I've gotten from the far right on the fact that I like to stir the pot a bit on Saudi Cracker's comments page, because a lot of these dudes we're going to keep saying the same talking points. John Stewart, yeah. Yeah, a lot of these dudes repeat the same talking points. Oh, you're a commie. You're leftist. You listen to Racial Man Out. That's just a straw man. I'm just pretty moderate, center right, socially moderate, fiscally conservative. I'm more fiscally conservative than most Black Americans. Yeah, but socially I'm pretty much the same right around where Dave Chappelle is. Then you got this one snowflake right here. Well, 90% are conservative getting banned. Liberal Hyman ain't wrong. Of course, there'll be a few outliers. Liberals get banned. See, they say it's outliers. Nah, nah, not with the audience Hasanabi got or Vals. They're pretty mainstream. And then you got this weird take from Superhero 2000. They do. They're busy editing perfect kid videos for the dark web. I'm seriously waiting on CNN. These guys are weird. I mean, these guys watch CNN more than folks like Second Thought do, or folks like Vouch do, or Hasanabi, or Pokimane. They don't watch this. They don't watch CNN like the far right does. And as you see here, I make a response to this far right guy right here, Michael Ward. Watch how triggered this guy gets. This guy can label me a communist. As a member of the LGBTQ community, I strongly disapprove of Don Lemon, CNN, and MSNBC in general. See, he never talks about Fox News. Let's Go Brands played out as a point, don't you think? You just don't realize the populist left doesn't like neoliberal CNN like Crystal Ball. Just don't get that nuance. Liberal, it won't play out. See, as you see, like, he doesn't know how to respond to something like this. So he just makes up straw man. Like I'm some communist or some crap. Dude, I'm a capitalist. I'm a capitalist to my bones, Michael Ward. maybe I'm going to like mention his name the next time I'm going to post this poll. Because yeah, I'm pretty capitalist. I'm way too capitalist to be some far left right winger, dude. Yeah, I like the fact I like low taxes. I'm way too much for low taxes to be like anywhere left economically. And pretty much my views on guns will make me pretty far right to the average left person. Like I'm against any kind of like gun restriction. I'm for like owning a gun if you're mentally capable. I mean, I'm for like open carry if you have a license. That's pretty far right compared to like most people on the left who are like for stricter gun control because they think it's a great idea from like the Australians. But as you see in Australia right now, there's a reason why the U.S. There's a reason why we believe in the Second Amendment more than they do in that prison colony island. Yeah, what's going on, Harveys for veterans? What's going on, man? So, Harveys, where do you fit in this whole like hidden tribes study? Oh man, let me get back up to this. And you see, where do you fit? Do you fit like with devoted conservatives, traditional conservatives, moderates, politically disengaged, passive liberals, traditional liberals, or progressive activists? I'm going to make a poll of this right after this video, so please give a like if you feel this video, a dislike if you don't feel this video, and please subscribe for more, and get ready for more shorts coming up.